Hey everyone, and welcome back. Ready to dive into another deep dive with us. Today, we're going to be looking at Hexagram 25 from the I Ching. It's called Wu Wang,
Wang.
and it's also known as Innocence or the Unexpected, which I think is pretty fitting for us because we're all about exploring those unexpected things that life throws our way.
Right, yeah.
We've got some interesting sources lined up today. Think hidden gems, caged birds, and maybe even some ancient relationship advice. So what do you say? You ready to jump in?
Let's do it. It's interesting. Wu Wang isn't like some ancient fortune cookie
Yeah.
that's telling you what to do or how to live your life. It's more like a guide for navigating life's ups and downs, but with this sense of authenticity, even when things get messy.
Okay, I'm intrigued. So the source mentions this idea of a gem that's hidden inside a stone. What's the significance of that imagery?
Well, the I Ching is full of symbolism, and this one's pretty powerful if you think about it. Imagine that gem is like your true self, your full potential, but it's kind of hidden beneath layers of, well, life. It could be societal expectations, fears, past experiences, all those things that can kind of keep us from shining as brightly as we could.
So the stone represents all those things holding us back. Gotcha. And what about the other symbol, the one with heaven above and thunder below?
Right. So the structure of the hexagram itself is really important. You've got Qian, representing heaven, on top of Zen, which symbolizes thunder.
Okay.
Heaven represents a kind of pure, unadulterated potential, while thunder symbolizes this powerful force for change, something that can shake things up and break through those barriers that stone represents.
I see where you're going with this. So Wu Wang suggests that to reach our full potential, to live authentically, we need to embrace that thunder energy, kind of shake things up a bit.
Exactly. It's about tapping into that inner strength to break free from those constraints and really step into who we are meant to be. And the I Ching emphasizes that this authentic self, this Wu Wang, is free from any kind of deception or ulterior motives.
Yeah. No hidden agendas, just pure, unadulterated you. I like that. But there's also this imagery of a bird in a cage. I don't know about you, but I've definitely felt that feeling of being stuck, like I'm just going through the motions sometimes. Have you ever felt that way?
I think most of us have at some point, yeah. That sense of being trapped, of having our freedom and autonomy limited, is a pretty universal human experience.
Yeah.
And Wu Wang acknowledges that.
It's comforting, in a way, to know that even ancient texts grappled with these feelings.
Right.
It makes you feel less alone. But speaking of feeling trapped, the source also mentions some warnings. Challenges related to travel, wealth, relationships, even health. Is this where things get a bit doom and gloom?
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
Remember the I Ching. It isn't about predicting the future. It's about providing guidance. Think of it like a map. It shows you the potential obstacles so you can navigate them with more awareness.
Okay, so it's more like a cosmic GPS than a crystal ball.
Exactly.
It's showing us the potential roadblocks so we can hopefully avoid them.
Exactly. And speaking of navigating challenges, we need to talk about the concept of yang energy because it plays a huge role in understanding Wu Wang.
Here's where it gets interesting. I'm all ears. What's the deal with yang energy?
In Chinese philosophy, yang represents the active, assertive, creative force. Think of it as the energy that pushes us forward, helps us express ourselves authentically and overcome obstacles.
Okay, so if Wu Wang is about embracing our true selves, we need that yang energy to break free from those constraints and actually live authentically. It takes a certain boldness, doesn't it?
You got it. It's about having the courage to be yourself, to stand up for what you believe in, even when faced with pressure to conform.
And there's this line from the source that really struck me. In all matters, one should adhere to righteousness. If one's behavior does not discipline, disaster will ensue. That's a powerful statement, and it feels pretty relevant today.
Absolutely. Think about how often we're pressured to compromise our values in our daily lives. It could be at work, in our relationships, even online. The pressure to fit in, to go along with the crowd, even when it feels wrong, is immense.
Us, all the time. It's exhausting sometimes trying to stay true to yourself when everyone else seems to be doing the opposite.
Exactly. But Wu Wang reminds us that staying true to ourselves, even under pressure, is essential for true fulfillment. It's about living in alignment with our values, even when it's hard.
Okay, so we've got authenticity, yang energy, staying true to ourselves. But what about relationships? Does Wu Wang have any advice for navigating those tricky waters?
Well, there's a line that mentions potential discord, unsmooth progress, or injury in a relationship.
Oh, that sounds a little ominous. Ching relationship advice. Maybe not what you want to hear on a first date. But seriously, what's the takeaway here?
I think it highlights the importance of self-awareness in relationships. If we're not being true to ourselves, if we're not living authentically, it creates friction and disharmony.
So it's not just about finding the right person. It's about being the right person.
Right. You could say that.
Yeah.
Having a strong sense of self and living with integrity creates a foundation for healthier, more authentic relationships. And on the topic of being the right person, we should probably touch on the health warnings in the source, too.
Right. There was something in there about acting impulsively.
No.
Especially when it comes to health.
Exactly. Wu Wang cautions against making hasty decisions, especially those that could impact our well-being. It encourages us to pause, to consider the consequences, and to make choices from a place of calm and clear thinking.
It's so easy to get caught up in the moment and make decisions out of fear or stress. I know I'm guilty of that.
We all are. But Wu Wang reminds us to take a step back, breathe, and make choices that truly support our well-being, both physically and emotionally.
Deep breaths, everyone. Deep breaths. Okay, before we move on, there's one more thing that caught my eye. The source mentions a lost object, something that's gone. What do you make of that?
It's interesting. I think it can be interpreted both literally and metaphorically, on a practical level. Maybe it's referring to a physical object that's been lost. But I think it could also represent a deeper sense of loss. Maybe a loss of direction, purpose, or even a loss of connection to our true selves. What do you think, listeners? What might you be feeling is lost in your own life?
Whoa, that's deep. I'm definitely going to be thinking about that one.
It's something to ponder, for sure. And while we're pondering, we should also address the line about disputes arising due to women or matters of death. It sounds a bit heavy, but I think there's a valuable lesson in there.
Okay, that's definitely not your typical dinner party conversation. But what's the I Ching getting at here?
I think it's emphasizing the importance of reconciliation over conflict. It's not about assigning blame. It's about finding a path to resolution and harmony, even in difficult situations.
So, deep breaths, self-awareness, and finding that middle ground. Sounds like solid advice for navigating those unexpected turns, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And to really grasp the essence of Wu Wang, we need to break down the individual lines of the hexagram. Each line offers a unique perspective, a piece of the puzzle.
Okay, let's do it. I'm ready for some line-by-line wisdom. What are we waiting for?
All right, let's start with the first line. Innocence, supreme success, advantageous, beneficial if correct. If not correct, there will be calamity, and it is not advantageous to go anywhere. It really sets the stage for the whole hexagram.
So it sounds like embracing our true selves, that innocence can lead to amazing things, but there's a catch. It has to be grounded in what's right, in our values.
Exactly. There's this strong emphasis on aligning our actions with what feels authentic, A and D, what's ethically sound. If we stray from that path, if our actions don't match our values, it can lead to some, well, not so great consequences.
It's like innocence with a backbone, not naivete, but a commitment to doing what's right, even when it's tough. And the second line seems to build on that idea of moving forward with integrity.
Right. The second line says, 9 at the beginning. Innocence, going forward brings good fortune. It's almost like a pep talk from the I Ching, urging us to embrace those opportunities, even when we feel uncertain.
It's like a little nudge to trust your gut. Take that leap of faith. That's a message I think we can all use sometimes. What about the third line? That one seems a bit more paradoxical.
Yes. The third line often trips people up. It says 6 in the second place. Without cultivation, there is a harvest. Without weeding, there is gain in going somewhere.
Okay, that's a head scratcher. How can you have a harvest without putting in the work?
It's not saying we shouldn't put in effort, but it acknowledges that sometimes unexpected rewards come our way, even without our direct intervention.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that the universe works in mysterious ways, and sometimes the best things happen when we least expect them. Have you ever experienced something like that?
Oh, totally. Those times when you just let go of control and something amazing falls into your lap. It's the best feeling.
Exactly. The third line reminds us to stay open to those possibilities, to not get so caught up in our plans that we miss out on the unexpected gifts life throws our way.
So stay open, trust the process. Got it. But then the fourth line seems to throw a wrench in the works.
Ah, yes, the fourth line. 6 in the third place. Calamity of innocence, or tying up the cattle, it benefits the traveler, but spells disaster for the townsfolk.
It's definitely one of the more cryptic lines in the hexagram.
What's with the cattle?
Yeah.
And what's this about unintended consequences?
This line serves as a warning against actions that,
Expansion.
despite good intentions, can have ripple effects we don't anticipate. It suggests that our choices, even those made with innocence, can sometimes impact others in ways we don't foresee.
So it's like a cautionary tale about thinking beyond our own immediate needs and considering the wider impact of our decision.
Precisely. It's a reminder that even the smallest actions can have far-reaching consequences. And it encourages us to approach decision-making with a sense of responsibility and awareness. That's a valuable lesson, especially in today's interconnected world. What about the fifth line? Does it offer any reassurance after that rather sobering message?
It does. The fifth line says, 9 in the fourth place, it is possible to remain persevering. No blame. It emphasizes the importance of resilience, of staying true to ourselves, even when faced with challenges or setbacks.
Thank goodness for that. After all those warnings, it's nice to hear that sticking to our principles will ultimately pay off.
It's like a reminder that the path to authenticity isn't always easy, but it's worth it. This line encourages us to keep going, to not give up on ourselves or values, even when things get tough.
So perseverance, resilience. Got it. What about the sixth line? That one sounds pretty intense.
Yes, the sixth line, 9 in the fifth place. Illness due to innocence, no medicine brings joy, is a bit more introspective. It suggests that clinging too tightly to our innocence can sometimes lead to suffering, especially if we're not allowing ourselves to experience the full spectrum of human emotions.
So it's saying that suppressing our feelings, pretending everything is fine when it's not, can actually make us sick.
That's one way to interpret it. True authenticity involves embracing both the light and the shadow, the good and the bad. It's about acknowledging and processing our emotions, rather than trying to bury them.
That resonates with me. We can't just focus on the positive and pretend the negative doesn't exist. It's about finding that balance.
Exactly. And finally, we reach the seventh line, which brings us full circle. 9 at the top. Innocence taking action brings disaster. It is not advantageous to go anywhere.
Wait a minute. That seems to contradict the earlier lines that encouraged us to move forward with confidence. What's going on here?
It's not a contradiction,
Yeah.
but rather a caution against impulsive action. Remember the emphasis on aligning our actions with righteousness. This line reminds us that sometimes the most innocent course of action is to wait, observe, and gather more information before making a move.
So it's about choosing our battles wisely, knowing when to act and when to hold back. Sometimes inaction is the most powerful action.
You got it. It's about finding that balance between assertive action and thoughtful restraint. Wu Wang encourages us to be mindful, to consider the potential consequences of our actions, and to act from a place of wisdom and integrity.
Wow. This deep dive is really making me rethink my approach to decision-making. It's not just about going with your gut or blindly following your heart. It's about finding that sweet spot between instinct and careful consideration.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of Wu Wang. It challenges us to look within, to examine our motives, and to make choices that align with our authentic selves, even when the path ahead is uncertain.
Okay, we've decoded the symbolism, explored the concept of yang energy, tackled those relationship and health warnings, and delved into the individual lines. What's the overall message here? What's the Yi Jing trying to tell us about navigating life's unexpected turns?
It feels like Wu Wang is saying, hey, be prepared for the unexpected, but bring your integrity and self-awareness with you.
It feels like it's not saying, hey, go jump off a cliff and see what happens. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. It's about trusting that inner voice, that innocence that guides us toward what's truly right, even when life throws us a curveball.
So instead of trying to predict the future, we're learning to equip ourselves to handle whatever comes our way.
Exactly. Wu Wang isn't about avoiding the unexpected. It's about facing it with a sense of clarity and purpose.
So we've been talking a lot about this idea of innocence. For someone who's maybe feeling a bit jaded or disillusioned, how can they reconnect with that sense of innocence? How can they do that without becoming naive or overly trusting?
That's a really insightful question. I think it starts with self-reflection. What are those layers of stone that are preventing you from connecting with your authentic self? Are they fears, past hurts, limiting beliefs? Once you identify those barriers, you can start to chip away at them. It's a process, not a quick fix.
So it's about peeling back those layers, rediscovering that core sense of self that maybe got buried under life's baggage.
Exactly. And remember that yang energy we talked about earlier. That's crucial here. It takes courage and assertiveness to break free from those old patterns, and step into your truth.
So deep breaths, self-reflection, a dash of courage. That's the recipe for rediscovering our innocence.
You could say that. And remember, the I Ching isn't just some ancient text. It's a living philosophy. It's about applying this wisdom to our lives, to our everyday challenges.
I think that's what makes this deep dive so fascinating. We're not just talking about abstract concepts.
Right.
We're exploring how this ancient wisdom can help us navigate our modern lives.
Precisely. And that brings us to a final thought-provoking question. If Wu Wang encourages us to embrace the unexpected, how can we apply that to our personal growth? How can we use that to make choices that truly align with our authentic selves?
Ooh, that's a good one. What do you think, listeners? How can you take this idea of embracing the unexpected and use it to make decisions that feel right? Decisions that move you closer to your goals, even if they're a little outside your comfort zone.
It's all about staying open to possibilities, trusting your intuition, and remembering that sometimes the greatest growth happens when we step outside of our comfort zones.
So keep your eyes open, embrace those unexpected opportunities, and remember that Wu Wang energy, that blend of innocence, integrity, and courage. Who knows what amazing things you might discover.
You never know what's just around the corner.
And that's our deep dive into Wu Wang, the hexagram of innocence and the unexpected. We hope you enjoyed this journey into the ancient wisdom of the I Ching.
It's been a pleasure exploring this with you.
Until next time, stay curious, stay authentic, and keep diving deep.